Well, walk me through. So imagine, first off, your nightmare would be that I would be in your class because I'd be, asking, you'd be like, no, not that guy. Mute him. But
welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. I am your host, Scott Cowan. I'm introducing myself more for my needs than yours. But today, Crystal Bailar of Mosstangle Art is sitting here with me. Well, not with me. She's actually sitting comfortably at home, and we're talking via the power of the internet. Crystal, thanks for putting up with the multiple attempts at introductions. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's fun. I'm enjoying it already.
Yeah. Just a little backstory, folks. Full transparency. There was multiple attempts at an introduction, and we're just going to go from here. So, Crystal, you're living in Monroe. I keep wanting to say Snohomish, but it's Monroe, and you're a transplant from Alaska down here into Washington State. We've gone over that off camera and all that. But how did you start your art business? Let's just talk about that. First off, give me a little bit about you, and then let's talk about what you do creatively.
Okay. Well, I live in Monroe, like you said, and I love Washington State. I love hiking. I love the outdoors. And one day, a few years ago, I think it was 2016, maybe 2017. Can't remember exactly, but I bought a little wood burning tool and some little wood rounds someone was selling them cheap. And I thought, well, it'd be fun to make something for the house. And so I burned these little coasters with trees on them because I love trees. And I just did some more because I so enjoyed the process of burning. And, trees, you can make all kinds of mistakes and not have to worry too much about it because, trees are not perfect. And
okay.
And so then I had some friends ask me to make something for their wedding, and then more people asked me to make stuff and said they'd pay me to do it. So I just started making things and getting paid. And then about a year into it, I started teaching classes and did that till the beginning of 2020 when I had to, right? And lots of classes. I absolutely loved it. I found out actually what I really love is teaching, and I love wood burning. Is a wonderful medium, and I absolutely love how it's like meditative and down to earth, and not perfect. You can't. I don't know. I know people who do perfect things like photorealism with their wood burning, and that's not me, but I love like the looseness of it. And so then I started teaching, and when 2020 came around, I had to cancel all my classes. I started teaching online through a fantastic group of people. I don't know if you know about them, Kula Cloth. They have this.
Do.
Yeah. So they started Kula Academy in like June of 2020. And I was one of their early teachers, and I started teaching wood burning classes online. And so done probably 30 online classes. And now I'm back to doing in-person classes, which is fantastic. I'm like so happy to be, I thought this online thing was pretty cool and I was having fun with it. But then when I started teaching again in person, I remembered how much I love like just that individual contact with individual people, one-on-one, watching them, do their art and being able to encourage them and, get my hands in there and show them stuff. And it's way easier than online, but online's fun too. So that's where I'm at.
Well, prior to starting this, was this your first artistic venture? I mean,
okay, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Because I'm like, oh, wow, we jumped into this pretty fast.
It was fast. So I've always been like creative, and I like to make things, and I like to dabble in a lot of stuff. And I'm one of those people with, closets, plural, full of, crafting supplies and paints. And I just love to just make things. And I've done a little bit of watercolor. I mean, I took like a watercolor class in college and took a few photography classes. You know, I just kind of touched on a lot of things, but I've been doing that for a long time. So there's already that kind of that underlying kind of like love to create things and an ability to, I mean, I've never been able to say, oh, here's something I'm looking at, and then put it down on paper and draw it, watercolor it to make it look exactly like I think it should look. But that's the other, that's why watercolor is such a great medium too, because it's like loose and easy, you know, easy to play with. And so
I can't even take a photograph to make it look like what I'm looking at. I'm just, somehow I'm like, wow, this looks amazing. And then I take the photo and I go, this looks nothing like what I just saw. What happened?
Yeah. So photography was actually my first, like little foray into trying to have my own business, art business. I, sold prints and cards for a little while, started a website at that point. Nothing really came of it because I really didn't spend much time on it. I just took a few pictures and gave away a lot of prints as gifts. So, right?
Man, I mean, it's funny talking to people who have the, I'll call it the creative bug, no matter what their outlet is, whether they're a chef or a photographer, wood burner, musician, whatever. They seem completely compelled to have to create. It's not an option. It's a requirement. You can't not do it. Or if you're not doing it, you're not very happy. So I always appreciate talking with people who have that creative spark.
Yeah, it's true. You can't, it's like, if you don't have a thing that you do, like I found wood burning, it's a thing I do. And I do still play with other art forms, but if you don't, and up until this point, I was like that, where I just had all this stuff. You have an arsenal of things because you're wanting to just, what do I feel like today? And you do the thing you feel like doing today. Right. And, you want to make something, even if it's cooking or baking. I mean, that's creative and that's fun, right?
For some people, for some other people, it's not fun. Right, I mean, it has to be, whatever it is that sparks it for the individual. You have to, that's right. You have to almost, I dare I say, you honor it and just, yes, you have to let it, you have to, go through it.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it.
So I have, I always, whenever I talk to people, my brain goes off in lots of different directions. Yeah. And so and we're just this is actually more of a business question than it is an artistic, creative question, but I'm on your site and I'm looking at your burn boxes, and where are you getting, so I'm looking at the Galaxy Gnomes burn box. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a Christmas one. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I'm looking at that. Oops. I was looking at it. Full disclosure. I was. There it goes. So where are you getting all the rounds, and how are you making, are you guys fabricating those? Are you buying them in bulk? I mean, where does that come from? Yeah, well, I would love to fabricate my own on a, but not quite there yet. I do occasionally for like gifts and things that I can't quite get that nice, perfect round, perfectly uncracked. But no, so I just get them from different places, mostly online sources and local. Like I just got a batch of cutting boards from someone in Kashmir who cut them for me and made them just right. Someday. Oh, is that what we were talking? Let me just interrupt. Was that what we were talking about the other day when you journeyed across and drove over the pass? Yeah, for the 30 minutes that it was that you risked life and limb to get cutting boards. I did, so that I could teach a class. Yep. Oh my gosh! Yeah. So I just get them from different places, and I try to buy in bulk when I can. Like for the burn boxes, definitely those are most of the rounds that I use are aspen. It's a nice kind of light colored, interesting, softer hardwood that allows you to burn. It burns nice and smooth, unlike, we could go off about wood, we could go all kinds of directions. Well, with that, so let's actually, we can do that. That'd be kind of fun for me. So we'll come back to the specific of the wood here.
Yeah, no problem.
The instrument that we're using,
yes,
or not we, because I'm not allowed to play with fire. What is the instrument? What is it, and how does it?
Okay, so that's it's a wood burning tool. And the one that I use for classes and for my kits, that's like I say budget. It's a good starter tool. So it's like you can spend $15-$30 somewhere in there and get, nowadays probably more like $35 to get just a basic tool. The one that I use, I like to put in my kits and I use for my classes, has temperature adjustment, and basically it's got it's like a pen, and it has for the beginner tool, it has like a solid brass tip that screws in, gets really hot and hot enough to burn wood. And so you use
but not too hot to,
it doesn't ignite in flames. Right. I'm sure there's ways, but I haven't tried to do that. And, so that tool so I like to use that because it's it's the tool I learned on. It's the first tool I used. I did a fair amount of business with that tool. But it is harder to use than the more advanced tools, but it's cheaper. So if you're just dabbling, you want to try it, you want to check it out, it's a great tool. And then what I use for my own art, primarily, because I sometimes still go back to the solid tip, is what we call wire tip burners. And those are a pen where the heat source is outside of the pen. So it's just a nice little shade. It's just like a pencil. It's like a fat marker, not even a fat marker. And it has a wire that heats up, and the wires can be shaped in different ways so that you can use them for different types. So it's like different nibs on let's say a calligraphy pen, right? So you can have different shapes to make different strokes occur as you burn. And those are more expensive, but you can get them for, $100, $110, $120. You can get a decent starter one of those. And I recommend those for people who, maybe think they might want to do more. Maybe they're going to do a bunch of Christmas gifts. And so they're going to end up saving money because they only paid $100 for a nice tool, and then made gifts for 15 people or whatever. So, it just depends, but those more professional burners they're it's a game changer if anybody wants to do it as a business, for sure. Yeah. So
the tips are adjustable.
Yeah. So
but we're not adjusting them when they're hot, are we?
No. So you, the wire tip burner. Okay. So here's a big difference. The solid tip burners, they take about a good 5 to 10 minutes to get hot. Right. Okay. And so, cause the heat source is in the pen itself, and it heats up like this, kind of pencil sized shaft. And then that gets the brass tip hot, and the brass heats up and cools down a little faster, but, the tool itself, in order to get to full temperature, takes a little while. And so if you want to change out your tips, and you have to wait 10 minutes for your tip to get cool enough so you can unscrew the tip and put it back in. There are ways around that. I do change them when they're hot. It's just not best practice, right? Whereas the wire tip burners, they cool off like within seconds. They heat up in seconds, they cool off in seconds. Another reason they're super awesome if you're doing this, if you're doing a lot of wood burning, because you can just change out your pen. I mean, you literally unplug the pen from the wire and put a new pen in. So those are right. And then there's also ones that you can unscrew the little wire tip and switch it out. That's a little more work, but and those pens are like anywhere from like $15 to $30 a piece. So you're not going to have, well, I have a lot, but that's because it's like anybody who's into something, right? If you have a hobby, you're like looking at the latest tools and the latest fun things to try. And, I have probably 10 or 12.
Guilty as charged.
Right. What's that?
Guilty as charged.
Yes. So, So I have a lot, but yeah, those are really fun to use because you can switch things out, and you can do a tip that cuts or a tip that is round, and you can do dots. And so there's all kinds of fun ways to use those. Yeah.
I'm on your site, and I'm actually looking at an upcoming class that I think is your cutting board class.
Yep. They have two of those.
Yeah. We have a friend, and he's a musician, and one night they were playing in Lake Chelan, and the winery had a charcuterie board, and he kept calling it a Sean Connery board.
That works. I like that.
Sean Connery. And, and doing his best, Saturday Night Live ripoff of Sean Connery, which I can't do. But it was so every time I see the word now, I want to say Sean Connery. It's just, yeah.
That's actually a good way to remember how to pronounce it, because the emphasis is on the right, syllables, and you can kind of go Sean Connery, charcuterie.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So, I like it.
So let's talk about this class in because so questions I have about it is, so you offer it in a couple of different ways. You've got just instruction only, or the supplies and no tool, and then supplies and the tool.
Right.
And then I have to have other supplies. I would be like, I'm not allowed to use scissors either. So I couldn't,
right.
I'm kind of kidding,
right.
But I do want to know. So I'm going to read this just for those that can't read along with me, because it's an audio show. Additional items you'll need for the class: ballpoint pen or embossing tool, scissors, needle nose pliers, small ceramic dish.
Yeah. You want me to explain that?
Why a small ceramic
Okay, so that's
dish?
Because we have a 2-hour class, and we don't have time to wait for our pens to cool down between switching pens. So the pen's hot when you use the needle nose pliers to twist off the pen, and I teach how to do that so you don't break your tip, and drop it on that ceramic dish, because you don't want to put it on your tabletop or whatever it is that you're burning on.
Well, you can customize your tabletop.
You could, if you had a metal table or, something like that that's heat resistant. If you had a wood table and you didn't care if you had burn marks on it, you could do that too. Right. So those are just things like I don't provide for the class, because typically people have them already. And when I do the online classes, I try to keep it, I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible.
Sure.
So, and since I've done a lot of classes, there's many people who like to take the class and already have tools because they've taken a class from me before.
Gotcha.
So so we have that DIY option. They have
that's great.
Yep. So they already have wood. They know what they're in for with me, and they show up, and it's awesome. And then, if you don't, as you're brand new and you've never done this before and you want all that stuff, then I send you all that stuff too. So,
that's very cool. Once again, this is where I poke fun at myself for what I see. And I don't need to disclose this, but I'm reading about what's included, and I thought it said wasabi tape. And I'm like, why are you sending wasabi tape?
Washi tape. Yes.
Yeah. Washi tape. Anyway, but I thought my brain went wasabi, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's just a fun version of a small. It's an easy to find small roll of masking tape that's cute. So it works. That's why
walk me through. So imagine, first off, your nightmare would be that I would be in your class, because I'd be, asking. You'd be like, no, not that guy. Mute him. But walk me through the process of, how this can be for anything. I'm just in front of the cutting board one, but what steps does one take to get the artwork? I mean, you're just not freeform. I mean, some people might be, but if I were my first time, you wouldn't want me, freeforming with a hot item on wood. Right. So how does that process work? Okay.
So, I do love it when people draw their own artwork, and that's goes without saying, but for people who don't have ideas or afraid to try, or this is their first time and they just aren't confident enough, then I typically provide a couple of, sometimes just one design, because we're all going to do the exact same thing. So it's something I've drawn, and I prepare it, electronically, so then I can just copy it. And then I mail it. If I'm providing a kit, I mail it. It's printed on a piece of paper and I mail it with the kit. And then other people can download. So like my website has downloads for designs. So they could pick a design from there if they want, download it, print it. And then what we do is we cut out the design kind of loosely so you can see where you want to put it on the wood and kind of get an idea where it's going to go. And then we just tape that to the wood. So we're looking at the little drawing, taped it to the wood, and then we slide this transfer paper, carbon paper, graphite paper underneath, and we just trace over. So basically, I have a friend who says this all the time. If you can trace, you can do this. So you just trace the lines that are on the design and take it off, and voila, you have a little pencil drawing on your piece of wood. And then you use that to use the heat of your tool to trace those lines. Yeah, that's it. It's pretty simple.
That is pretty straightforward, actually. Yeah, as much as I'm going to give myself a hard time because I wouldn't be able to. I'd be the one at the end of the class saying, "Look at what I did," and you're like, "That looks nothing like what we had planned." But okay, thank you, Scott. Have a nice day.
Actually, those are my favorite. Those are my favorite pieces. The ones that don't look like anything we had planned.
Well, that's actually very cool. And even though this episode is about you, I think I would be, as I'm moving my mice around for one of my two computers, realizing that my iPad doesn't have the mouse hooked up to it. Let's for a second, let's talk about the Kula cloth and their academy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or the Kula Academy.
Yeah, let's do.
How'd you get involved with them? And for our audience that may not know that much about them, do you mind giving a little bit of an overview?
Yeah. So, a Kula cloth is, it's a pea cloth. So basically it's for, especially, I mean, it can be used by anyone, but it was, specifically, it's nice for women. And you pee in the woods or anywhere there's no toilet paper. And it just is your wiping. It's made with an antimicrobial fabric on one side and waterproof fabric on the other side. So your hands stay dry. It has a little snap situation so you can close up the dirty part and hang it from your pack. And it's fun to hang from your pack because it has this beautiful or fun or goofy artwork on it. And
we had our logo on one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fun thing. So 2020, I don't remember, at some point, Kula, my earrings are falling out. My earbuds are falling out. Now, they had a contest for a design. So they had a Kula cloth design contest one year. And I entered it, didn't win, no problem. There's a lot of entrants. It's amazing how many people entered and how much beautiful artwork there was. But Anastasia, the owner of Kula cloth, contacted me because she thought the idea of a wood-burned Kula was unique and fun and interesting. So what we ended up doing was I made some trophies for that contest. So I made Kula shaped, so square shape, diamond, and a diamond orientation to just commemorate for awards for the people who won the contest. So, and there was like 4 of them, and it was like, the winner and it was done with like mountain, my designs. And so now we had these wood, like actual wood, 1/2-inch thick square piece of wood with a Kula design. And then at some point we were both like, well, then we have to make a Kula cloth with wood burned art. And so I've made a couple designs for Kula. And, it's just been, there's such a warm and welcoming, Anastasia, everyone in that company is just fantastic. And they're just so open to just the fun and the creativity. And, so then in 2020, when, Kula was trying to come up with that's when they came up with Kula Academy. to offer people ways of getting together and doing things and having fun. And so then I got a call or an email saying, hey, would you teach a woodburning class? And well, wait, how would we even do that? And so I said, well, I'll just mail them the supplies and we'll give it a try. I've never done it before, but willing to try. So, and that's how that started. And it was fun. It is fun to teach online, especially when you're getting, it's a little different because I can't see what you're doing while you're doing it. And so I'm constantly having to say, do you have any questions? What are you struggling with? And just try to pull that out of people and to get them to lift up their little piece of art and show it to a Zoom room full of people, right? That's a challenge.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Okay.
So, there's lots of challenges, but in so many ways, it provided a unique way to connect with people. And I think that's why Kula Academy is still like a huge success, is because people are hungry for that interaction. Plus you get to learn stuff from people that you wouldn't because they live too far away, right? They
live in Monroe and I'm in New York.
Right. Or I have a student who's been to a few of my classes. She's in Maine. So, and we never would have, I don't think we ever would have done this. Well, we wouldn't have if it hadn't been for online and for Kula. Yeah.
Well, that's, I was not all that aware of, well, I knew about the Academy,
right.
But I wasn't, aware that they first off, I wasn't aware that they had a woodburning class, but just because I don't pay that close of attention to be, my Kenzie pays more attention to Kula than I do.
Right.
They were absolutely wonderful to work with when we did an Explore Washington State Kula cloth. I scratched my head in bewilderment and watched. I was like, wow, okay, cool. Good for them. I mean, they're just what they're doing is very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. Awesome. And I like the fact though, that they're providing a platform that, an artist like yourself can tap into, be exposed to more people than you might be meeting on your own through their network. And then you're out sharing your art, your craft.
Yeah. Well, we just started right before Christmas. I started making Kula cloth earrings. So little miniature Kula cloths that are earrings. And, I have, and I've probably made 60 pairs since we started that process in December, and they sell out and people love them. And all of a sudden I have all these people who get to see my art because it's not my platform. I mean, some is my platform, because I've got a growing following, but to be able to, the generosity that Kula, the Anastasia and Kula, they're offering with their following, just, it's so generous and wonderful and just love it.
I think that's one of the things that's come out of the pandemic is we all, I don't say we all, but I think a lot of people, how's that? I'll rephrase it like that. A lot of people have come up with new or revisited interesting ways of connecting and building community that we weren't doing in 2018.
It's true.
And when I've talked to business owners, there's been, there's been a lot of business casualties. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
There's been a lot of that, but there's been a segment of business owners that have adapted and thrived with new methods of delivering their product or their service to an audience. Just in your world, just if you were in Monroe and I might not even be willing to come across Steven's path like you did. But if I wanted to take your class, I don't know that I would have attended the January 12th class, because I don't know that I could have or would have driven across.
Yeah.
But if it's online, I can be there. So exactly. I think that's, is it the same? No. but does it allow continuity and community? Absolutely. I think it does. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. One of my, go ahead.
Well, actually the question I have is, so when you're teaching these classes, so you and I today, we're looking at each other like we're sitting across the table drinking coffee. Mm-hmm. And I don't see anything. I'm just seeing you from your shoulders up. Mm-hmm. So when you're teaching a class, how are you able to demonstrate? Do you have like a camera overhead that you're shooting down with?
Yes. So I set up 2 cameras, and I have one for that. I just have it. I just use, it's my DSLR, and I just hook it into and I love it because I can zoom in with it. And I set that up as my workstation and right there. And then there's parts of it where I want to be a little further away so they can see the big picture. And then I'll zoom in on some of the detail to show, because there's certain ways to hold the pen and use the pen to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Right. So, and then I just have my laptop webcam on me. Mm-hmm. But typically I just do that at the beginning and the end, the headshot, the talking head part. Right.
The rest of the time is
right. The rest of the time is just focused on the artwork. Mm-hmm.
So cool. How are you, from a technical standpoint, how are you accomplishing that using Zoom with the multiple cameras?
So I log in with 2 different. Okay. I just log in twice. And so
that's a simple solution.
Yeah. So I just have 2 cameras. I have 2 boxes on Zoom, and one is me and one is, and then I just highlight the speaker. And so then that typically, and so the one that's hooked up, and I mute the one that I don't want, because you get the feedback.
Oh, that's an elegance. I was trying to figure out how, because I haven't cracked the multiple cameras with Zoom solution yet. Now you just gave me a workaround.
There you
go. Well, you're not just selling your products through Kula. So let's talk about, where are you getting your inspiration? Okay. So backstory, what you didn't really disclose earlier is that you moved here from Alaska. Mm-hmm. So you moved here because of our warm sun-filled days.
Yes.
No rain. Oh wait, you live in Western Washington. Right. No, you moved down from Alaska down to Washington. So where are you getting your inspiration for projects? Where's that coming from? What's your process?
Excellent question. So I love the outdoors, and I've been hiking, backpacking, wandering around the wilderness since I could walk. And thanks to my parents who brought me up as an outdoorsy person, got me my first backpack when I was 5 years old. And because I was the oldest, I was not going to be carried anymore. Okay. I was going to carry my own stuff at that point. So just it's the outdoors. So I spend a lot of time hiking. I actually love to take people hiking. So I take people hiking with me all the time, as much as I can, but I also hike alone. And it's definitely being outside is what is my inspiration. 100%. The trees, the mountains, the mushrooms, the flowers, everything. Yeah.
So when you find yourself in a location that provides you with inspiration, are you documenting it with photography? Are you sitting down and sketching? Are you just looking at it and taking a really good mental picture? Or do you have a solar powered wood burning tool? And
actually, okay, let's go there. So I take pictures. I do take pictures. Okay. That's usually what I do. I'll take a photograph. Sometimes I always keep a little sketch pad, and I actually have watercolors in my backpack. And so sometimes I'll paint, sometimes I'll draw. But mostly it's just, I take a picture of something that's inspiring to me, and then I take it home, and I usually don't copy it, but it's like sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll be like, wow, that mountain's perfect. And I'll actually trace it and it'll go on a piece of art. But, mostly I just draw kind of how it makes me feel. And so I'll sketch that out. And so sometimes that's just the trees, and maybe and then the background sky will be something totally out of my imagination or whatever. So there's just different ways. And actually I have a little battery operated generator that probably weighs about 3 or 4 pounds. Not a problem. Put it in my backpack. My wood burning tool weighs maybe a pound, and some pieces of wood, and I can burn outside. Sure.
Oh my gosh. I would not have envisioned.
Probably not a good idea in July.
Yeah, probably not, but okay. All right.
But the idea, wood burning is more of like a kind of a cozy indoor activity, really. It's warm, you smell the wood smoke, and it's more of it's not so much like an adventure art, like something but it's fun to take it out there and do that for fun. But since I work from photographs and drawings, I don't need to be, there's no plein air wood burning going on.
Okay. What areas have you found in Washington that you like to go hiking?
I like everywhere.
Wow.
So I live in Monroe, so I am close to, and even in Snohomish, I was close, Mountain Loop Highway, hikes all up and down there. I just absolutely love. And then of course, Stevens Pass Highway with Skykomish and all the mountains through there, Alpine Lakes, Leavenworth, who doesn't love the enchantments if we can get there? It's everywhere. The mountains.
Have you ever gotten a pass to go through?
Not a backpack, and I apply every year. Nope, haven't won that lottery yet. I've through hiked it. I through hiked it last year, and I would love to backpack it because then you can just meander and spend a lot of time soaking it all in. If you're going to try to do it in a day, you got to keep moving, and so
right.
It's still a lot of beauty, and you could take it in, but it's way better if you could take some days to do it. We've had
some guests on that have done the enchantments before, and early on in the show, one of my friends, I coerced him to be a guest on, and he's summited Rainier, and we were talking about, and so we were talking about where's his favorite places to hike, and so he was telling me, the enchantments is one of the things, and he had his friends had won the lottery, and they invited him along, and but he was telling me about there was this part, and I'm going to butcher it, but there was they saw a bear. Okay. And I said, well, were you worried? He goes, no, because there was a guy over there in skinny jeans and Chuck Taylors, and I just had to run faster than him. And it was just the way he said it. I was just like, oh my gosh, was just, he was so, I just had to run faster than the guy in skinny jeans, and I'm okay.
That's funny.
No, the enchantments, every photograph I've ever seen from the enchantments has been, jaw dropping.
It is. It is what it is. That's right.
So I have a question, or quiz question for you. The rocks that are in the enchantments.
Yes.
Right. The rock. Where are they from?
Where are they from? Like how were they formed, or how were they? Well,
yeah, but where did they originate?
I have no idea. From there. Yeah, they originate from there, as far as I can tell.
No, actually
where
not.
They come from?
Actually, Baja California. Those rocks, don't trust me. Don't trust me. Trust Professor Nick Zentner from Central Washington University. He was a guest on, and we're talking, we're talking about, no, I'm not kidding you. Go listen to the episode.
I will.
He's legit. I mean, the man has a PBS TV show. No, so when you think about it, historically, the earth is cooled, and the plates have shifted and all that.
Okay.
Right? And so over millions of years, rock has been moved. So I'm having this conversation with Professor Zentner, and I'm paying attention, but it's rocks. I don't know much about rocks. Okay. I took Geology 101 in college because it was easy, but it was also kind of interesting. But anyway, so he's telling me this, and he goes, yeah. And so because of they can tag, they can look at a rock and tell where it was formed by its latitude
and longitude.
Thank you. Words are hard today.
Based on molecular tags. Yep. Okay.
Those rocks started. Yeah. And I was just like, kind of like you just now, I was like, no, come on. And no, those rocks go all the way. They have gone from basically Baja California, what we know as Baja California, up into British Columbia.
It's interesting because, the earth is we think it's solid, and it's not.
No,
it actually is not, right?
No.
So if, things move, and if you give it enough time, they're going to move.
Right. So, I mean, in our lifetime, it's always been there.
Right.
But when you think back millions of years.
Good. I like that. That's a good one. That's really good.
So it was just like, okay.
Cool.
Well, I like the fact that you're getting out and, you're finding inspiration in your hikes and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
In Washington, since you're a relative newcomer to our state, are there places in the state that you haven't been that you want to go to?
I would like to spend more time in Eastern Washington. I spend a lot of time on the west side. I've been to Olympic Peninsula a few times.
Oh, beautiful.
And I've been to southeast, so Walla Walla, and driven through there. And I've been up to Chelan, but I haven't been like northeast. I haven't been to Spokane as an adult. I've been there when I was younger, but as an adult, I haven't visited there. And I'd love to, explore more, spend some more time in the mountain. I've been to Rainier a few times, but I'd like to spend more time there, get to know it a little more, same with some of the others.
Yeah. Spokane's a great city.
Mm-hmm. I was just listening to the podcast of the Dry Fly distillery.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I think I need to make a trip to Spokane.
Their new location.
Yeah.
I never saw the old one, but the new location is amazing. It's a really cool space. What we really didn't talk about is that their new space is in one of the old printing press locations for the Spokane Spokesman.
Oh, that's cool.
But it has floor to ceiling windows that look out over downtown Spokane.
Wow.
So it's this open light space. It's not like a warehouse. It's this open, bright light space. It's very cool. And one of the things that they do that I think is quite interesting is that they like to locally source everything. So that's kind of a very, very cool thing. Also, I would encourage you, if you haven't been to Palouse Falls, that going and seeing Palouse Falls is a must.
That's on my list. Yep. That's on my list of places to see. Yep.
Yeah. And or if you haven't been down to the Columbia Gorge.
Yes. Been there, been down there, and I love it. We've done a few trips down there, and
that's just, this state has an embarrassment of opportunities. I've lived here all my life, and I haven't been lots and lots of places. Well, so many. I mean, I've been to so few comparatively.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, we knew we'd love Washington. I had no idea how much there was here. It just, and like Saturday, I went snowshoeing up at Artist Point with a group from Kula, actually. And, Artist Point, Mount Baker. And just like the whole time I'm walking through, we're hiking and the mountains are out. It's kind of a relatively clear day, which is incredible. And I just can't get over how beautiful this state is. Yeah. Even in, on the drier side, I do a lot of walks in, hikes, the Wenatchee area, Leavenworth area. And then all of a sudden you're in pine trees and a whole different, it's just like driving over the pass. It's, cedars and moss and waterfalls and just this like dreamy kind of thing. And then you get all of a sudden, boom, you're over the pass and it's, pine trees and pine cones and cool plants. And it's just, and the river, the Wenatchee River, and just, I love this state. I'm so glad we're here. We're here to stay.
No, it's awesome. So to kind of give you we were talking about Professor Zentner.
Yeah.
So this was really early on in the show, and not that I know what I'm doing now, but I really didn't know what I was doing then. And he was gracious enough to be on. And one of the things I've learned now is like we have that phone call before we do a show, so we at least break the ice. Well, with him, it was by email, and we get on, and so it's like, well, hello. Okay, let's go. He's like, let's go. And so I had like no prep, just boom, hit the record button. He wanted to go. And he was because he's done this so many times, right? Because he has his own YouTube channel and all this stuff. But he was great. But what was really interesting was the night before we recorded this. So he's in Ellensburg and I'm in Wenatchee.
Okay.
And in Wenatchee, there's this place called Saddle Rock that people like to hike up to. It's kind of, it's kind of the iconic thing here in Wenatchee. He hiked Saddle Rock the night before. And I watched, because he was live streaming it.
Oh, okay.
He had 1,000 people watching him hike Saddle Rock.
Okay.
And he's talking the entire way up. I mean, he's giving a lecture. And I'm just thinking that I'd be the dead guy on the side of the path, curled up in the fetal position. But yeah, he's this guy. And so he makes learning about the state just really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look him up. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't seen him, I think you'll enjoy him a lot, and he'll inspire you to go see other areas that you haven't journeyed to yet, like maybe like Banks Lake.
Haven't been there yet. That's on the.
That's surreal looking. It does not look like Washington State. Yeah. It kind of looks like you've gone back to prehistoric times.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's awesome.
So, with all these travels, I'm going to make an assumption. And I make this assumption about every guest is that you drink coffee.
Yeah, drink coffee. Yes.
Well,
and Alaska is also a big coffee state. So
okay, so where do you like to go for coffee?
I have a couple favorite places. So my favorite is Nadine's in Everett. It's just a little Nadine's. Yep. It's like a little. It's just a little shop in downtown Everett, and I just love their atmosphere, and it's kind of like a little 1920s speakeasy style, and just very laid back, and their coffee is delicious. And then,
do you happen to know whose coffee they're serving? Are they doing their own? Or are they? Sorry, folks, she doesn't know.
That unfortunately, I'm not that much of a coffee connoisseur. But actually, so for us, we brew our own espresso in our home, for our coffee, our personal coffee at home, and we get coffee from Vista Clara coffee. So he used to be one of the guys with Seattle's best coffee. And so Snohomish, he's in Snohomish and has a local roastery, and that's where we get our espresso. Like my husband orders it ahead of time, and he goes and he drives to Snohomish, because we used to live, we lived there, and he would be down there to go shopping or go to the gym, and he'd just stop by and we pick up our coffee. And but yeah, so that's but otherwise I'm not really super familiar with the different roasteries. So yeah,
there's I can't think of the name of the place, an interesting little coffee shop in Monroe, in a strip mall over by Fred Meyer.
Yes. Is that Venacio's?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Here's a little backstory to that. I used to work at Providence as a nurse. So the clinic parking lot is right next to Venacio's. So that was my go-to for coffee while I was working. Yeah. So
I tend to like a darker roasted coffee.
Yeah, me too.
And I forget which one I bought a bag, and it was like, wow, this is like,
it's good.
Yeah, it was really quite good. And I really, so when I stop, so part of the reason I ask people where they go for coffee is so that selfishly, when I'm driving through a town, I know where, because I wouldn't necessarily stop at, say, Nadine's. I wouldn't know, but like now I can go try it out based on your recommendation. Yeah. And not that it doesn't mean like I'll call you up and go, well, I didn't like it, but at least it's credibility. Yeah. And I'll go check it out. Yeah. That's kind of my,
well, if you're in Snohomish, my favorite place is Proper Joe, and they roast their own coffee, and that's a very good coffee shop too.
I like that name. Yeah. Did you ever try, what's the other name of the place in Everett? I
don't know a lot of places in Everett.
All right, never mind.
Okay. Just not Starbucks. Oh, was I supposed to say stuff? Should I not say that?
No, you can. It's okay. I mean,
I don't.
So I have. Okay. So the other question I love to ask guests are, so when you're out and about, where's a good place to get something to eat?
Oh, okay. So my current favorite place in Snohomish is Krista's Sandwich Board. They have delicious sandwiches and soup and salads. I'm a very casual. We're casual eaters. You know, we like Thai food and we like, you know, Mexican, and we have yet to find a Chinese restaurant that we like. So if you hear of anyone, let me know.
In Seattle.
There's
lots of them in Seattle.
We've been to Seattle and we've had that. You know, I've had my kids live there, so we've done a few places in Seattle, but yeah.
Regretfully, in my opinion, the best Chinese in Wenatchee is at Panda Express.
Okay, that says a lot.
Yeah, and that's something this community is, in my opinion, lacking.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we had that problem in Alaska too. We lived on the East Coast for a while, and we were spoiled for that kind of stuff.
And Seattle's got amazing.
Yeah,
things,
Seattle does. You know, it is good.
Seattle has a lot of really great things going for it. Yeah, so I'm all about coffee. So to where I was going with the food thing. So my goal when I travel is that I don't eat anywhere that I can eat at home.
Right. Yes.
That's my goal.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The only place that gets a pass is Starbucks.
Right.
And it's because a couple of reasons. Number one, they have clean bathrooms.
It's true.
9 times out of 10, their bathrooms are clean.
It's
true. And then the other thing is that I know when I order, because I just drink black coffee primarily.
Right.
Or if I order a nitro cold brew, they're going to be predictably
That's true.
what they are.
And that is the thing. Mm-hmm.
Versus going up to XYZ espresso stand. So espresso stands don't normally work for me because I'm not drinking a latte or anything. So Americanos are hit or miss sometimes. And so Starbucks gets the pass. Yeah. And I used to work for them.
Yeah. So they've got a great business model. And, you know, it's just, for me, it's more, I like to support local people. And
absolutely,
for me, it's like, if we're on a road trip and we're driving and Starbucks is it is predictable. So we'll go there. And sometimes though, it's really fun to try those little local places because then you find something, you know, you find a little treasure. I mean, you're taking a risk, but you find a little treasure. And, you know, my husband always gets an Americano every single time, pretty much. And so, you know, we always get to try that out, and you can really taste their coffee when you drink an Americano.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And or the water that's not necessarily all that great either. True. So that's kind of where my consistently I ask people to share with us a failure. So I'll frame it like this for you. In your word burning, did you ever have an idea you're thinking, oh, this will be great, this will work, you know, I'm going to do whatever. And then it just failed? Yeah,
actually. So I had a few of those, but one that stands out is I thought that making coasters would be like a thing. Like people would really like just little sets. Because actually the first person who ordered a custom order from me, they wanted 4 coasters. And we did the mountains. We did 4 of the Washington volcanoes, right? So that was a fun project. And so that was over, and I was like, you know, that's a really good idea. I could do trees, I could do mountains, I could do custom ones, I could put names on them, you know, it would be a blast. And people do like coasters, but they don't want to pay what it takes me to make a coaster. So, I mean, in general, so they've just never sold. So, and which is fine. I give them away as gifts because I have family that loves our outdoorsy wood burned art. So family and friends, and I use them myself, and I just don't do coasters anymore unless somebody orders a set of coasters and, you know, they know ahead of time that they're not, you know, I just can't charge $5 a coaster, even $10. It takes me a while depending on the art. So
isn't that always kind of the artist's dilemma is pricing your creativity so that it's accessible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Until you hit some stage where like you're Chihuly or something.
Well, it's
just being in the room while they're blowing the glass.
Right. You're willing to pay for that.
Premium.
Right. Right. Well, people, that's like probably one of the biggest questions I get from other wood burners who are starting their businesses is how I price my stuff and how I price my classes. And pricing is one of the biggest questions that I think that, especially artists are really struggle with, because it's relatively easy to say, I put this much money into something and I want this much profit and I can charge, and I'll charge this much if it's, if it's worth it. Whereas with art, it's like, well, how much do I pay myself for my time? And it's not just my time, it's my agonizing and my, and my worry and my anxiety and my passion and my energy and what it takes for me to make something. And artists almost always underprice. I talk to, wood burners. I have people come to me like when I'm at like, outdoor markets and stuff. And they're like, wow, you're not charging enough. And so they're like, yeah, but if I charge you $300 for this piece, are you going to buy it? And they're not. And so it's like, where do you find that balance, and how much is it worth it? And so much of it is like, what's my value? And when you start asking that question, then that goes to some pretty dark places for people, right? Like, what am I worth? Am I even worth a $10 coaster? And it's not, and they have to remember, it's not, well, it is your value, but you are, and what you do has value, and somebody will pay for it. Hopefully, at some point.
That's we could have a whole episode on, or a series of episodes on pricing and value and self-worth and the whole psychology of
that's hard
doing this stuff. So we're going to skip that.
Sounds good, because that's a tough topic.
Oh, it absolutely is a very tough topic. What's next for you? What do you are you going to start? Do you have any plans? Is there new besides the Sean Connery boards?
I'm going to use that now. I'm going to use it.
That's fine. Chris Jones is the gentleman who's the originator of that. Right. Chris Jones of the Chris Jones Band.
Okay, I'll have to make sure to give him credit.
Give him proper credit. But so what? Oh, I know. But let's go to that. But I do have another question that I should have asked from the very beginning that I completely overlooked. So, what's kind of in the future look like for you?
Well,
do you think?
I want to teach more classes. I would love to do like more retreat, kind of retreat type classes. I've done one where I taught for a group that was in a retreat, and that was I've done 2 retreat classes, and those were just so, I just love getting to know the people individually a little more than just, hurry up and do the thing. I would like to, I'm recording, courses like YouTube. I have a little bit on YouTube right now. And of course, all my burn boxes all come with access to YouTube tutorials. And so I'm going to do more of that and offer more, just education about wood burning. And then even as time goes on, about trying to do it as a business,
Okay.
So that's kind of in my future. And someday I'd like to maybe definitely would like to kind of be more involved in like art, exhibitions and shows. And, I took me till about a year and a half ago to call myself an artist. Right. So that was a lot to get over. And I feel like I'm getting to the point where I can say, I'll take my art and I can submit it for like juried art shows and different stuff like that. So that's in the future as well. And getting into some retail shops, that would be awesome. Yeah.
All right. So the question I probably should have started this whole conversation off with, how did you come up with the name Mosstangle?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's kind of a roundabout thing. First of all, moss and Mosstangle just kind of fits like a woodsy, outdoorsy feel. But was inspired by a story written. It's actually a fairy tale written by George MacDonald. And he wrote.
Did he have a farm?
No. Yeah. Sorry. George MacDonald was a Scottish Victorian era fairy tale writer. And so, and he wrote this story called The Golden Key. And there's two characters in the story called, one is Mossy. He's a boy who is going to find the golden key. He finds the golden key and he wants to know where it's going to plug into. And then, what door it's going to open. And he meets a little girl in fairyland called Tangle. And so between the two, it was just, I love the story and I love the symbolism in it of, this idea that there's another, there's a place that this earth is a reflection of. And, and that kind of goes into a lot of stuff, but Mossy and Tangle, and there you have Mosstangle. So that's how it started. And that was what I used when I was first doing like my photography stuff, probably 10 years ago. And so I Googled it and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I was like, it's a good one. So
there you go.
That's where that came from.
So speaking of Google, that's a great transition. Thank you for handing that over to me. Where can people find you online and find out more about you?
Okay. So mosstangle.com is my website. So very simple. And then also I'm on Instagram at Mosstangle and Facebook, same thing at Mosstangle. And those are kind of the main places where I show. And and YouTube, same thing.
YouTube.
Also Mosstangle. Okay. And so that's.
See, you have a good name when you can have it on all the channels.
Yep, have it everywhere. Yeah. So it's all the channels. And, if I was going to do Twitter, it would be Mosstangle as well, but not going there.
You're not going on Twitter.
Well, there's Twitter, there's TikTok, there's Facebook, and that's actually a really good piece of advice for people who are trying to do start their little art business, wood burning, whatever. Just pick 2 channels. Besides your website, of course, or whatever, pick 2 or 3 and don't try to spread yourself too thin because, as much fun as it is to kind of delve into all those things, it's just a lot of work. It'll suck your time away.
It is a lot of work. My get out of jail free card. I wrap up every episode with this. So if you've listened to any, you know what's coming. What didn't I ask you that I should have?
Okay. Well, you asked all kinds of great questions. I think that with my big vision, mission idea with Mosstangle is, it's to make great art. And I love doing that. But what I really want to do is I want people to be able to experience just the creativity and the freedom that comes with getting over our hangups about what we can do and what we're capable of. Everybody has there's people will disagree with this. And yes, there's varying levels of creativity, but everybody has some, right? Because we're made, I feel like we're created to be creative, right? And to make things or to come up with ideas or something. And so even if this is what I teach in my classes, there's no mistakes. And you learn how to not try to let go of some of that perfectionism that we have, because I think that's what people are afraid of when they want to be creative. Well, they're like, well, I want to be creative like you. I want to, draw that picture or paint that painting. And they're to say, okay, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, but there's something I can do. Then I feel like it was a success. So even if you say, oh yeah, wood burning's not for me, but it was fun to, let loose and make some mistakes and be okay with it, then I've succeeded as a teacher. So that's probably the big thing for me that's important.
Well, I think unfortunately so many of us, we look at somebody, and no matter what endeavor it is, whether it be, wood burning, right, playing a guitar, brewing coffee, and go, I want to do it like that. totally discounting the fact that that person's that's doing whatever that is has been doing it for a period of time, has been practicing it, has been
It's true.
educating themselves, and has made a ton of mistakes along the way.
Yeah, it's true.
A ton of them. And so I think we're too quick to say, I can't do something.
Right.
When we need to probably be a little kinder to ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of grace and say, well, I might not be doing it very well right now, but if I'm really into it, I will get better.
Right.
And, so many people just throw, I can't do this. And they walk away and don't ever, they don't ever give it a try.
I've had one student in one class say, have partway through, just like, this isn't for me. I'm not doing this. Otherwise, even the ones who aren't super excited about what they make, they still, everyone else has been, this was fun. This was relaxing. I didn't feel pressured. I didn't feel, and that's my goal, right? To make sure that you come away just saying, this was fun. I had a good time and I feel more relaxed but most of the time what people do is they start out with, all right, yeah, sure. And they end the project and they'll hold it up and they'll be like, oh my gosh, look what I just made. And they are excited and they love it. And maybe they won't ever do wood burning again, but to have that little burst of energy and excitement that comes from accomplishing something. And so maybe I boosted them on their way to like go home and pick up those charcoal pencils they used to be into and weren't, whatever.
Right.
So,
exactly. Just, I think sometimes, I agree 100% with you. So I just want to thank you for taking the time today to have a cup of coffee with me and talk about what you're doing. And I encourage everyone to check it out at mosstangle.com, and we'll put a link in the show notes so that they don't have to remember that, but we'll make it easy for people. But thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thank you. I had a good time.
All right.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.
We're going to start over because I already messed that up and I can. All right, Todd, cut that. I mean it, Todd, cut it.